Next up, we're going to talk about today's reality in retirement and how it differs from our mom and dad's.
Welcome to Farm Truck Financial, where wisdom and wealth ride shotgun. Join Eric Kearney, president of Retirement Wealth Advisors, who believes that the best kind of planning happens when 4 tires hit the road. So hop in. Today, we're talking about investment strategies that drive results.
Farm Truck Financial, we're riding with.
And welcome to Farm Truck Financial. My name is Eric Kearney, president of Retirement Wealth Advisors. And today I am joined with Joseph Lanza, investment advisor with Retirement Wealth. Hey, Joseph, how are you?
I'm doing great. Eric, how about yourself?
Good, man. Thanks for being here. We have so much to talk about today, like we always do.
As always, right? Yeah.
So let's talk about the new reality in retirement today, how much it has changed. So Joseph, your dad is getting closer to retirement. Obviously, my parents have been retired for quite some time. My mom just turned 89 years old. I've seen that whole transition for her. You're starting to see the transition with your father.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 different worlds.
Absolutely.
You know, my parents did travel, but not as extensively as people are traveling today. Now, younger people and pre-retirees are traveling so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Even after retirement, they're traveling a lot more. So I feel like in my parents' generation, you retired, you got the gold watch, you had a pension, big party, and then you go home and sit on the porch.
Yeah.
You know, and today it's not like that. It's like it's so much more dynamic. What are we seeing in the changes from even 20 years ago to what we have today?
Well, the funny thing is we learn a lot about money from our parents, how we see them interacting with money. And so when retirees today think about how their parents went through retirement, they weren't instilling financial planning tips and tricks and, hey, make sure you look to do Roth conversions. I mean, Roth conversions weren't even a thing 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, I guess I should say now. So the landscape has changed, and we can't necessarily beat ourselves up for that because we learned from our parents. They weren't doing it either. And it's funny because I remember my dad telling me, he said, you know, hey, grandpa always told me, make sure you get a job with a pension.
Yeah.
That was his financial advice that he gave. Just make sure you get a job with a pension, which he did. But think about today. If you're not a government employee, you're not getting that pension.
Right.
Right. And as far as parents giving their children this advice, the landscape has completely changed. Even just look at investments, right? Think 25 years ago, mutual funds were great. Mutual funds were the thing, right?
Yeah.
Hey, which fund do you got? Which fund are you
right.
invested in? And look at it today. Look at the big fall off that mutual funds have had, right? And
I don't even know how they exist today, honestly.
I think if it wasn't for 401ks, we might actually, you might see a huge drop off in mutual funds. And I think they are on their way of going extinct, to be honest with you.
Right.
But there's so many different things that retirees are facing today that their parents didn't have to go through, different aspects that they're looking at. And I think you were mentioning living a more dynamic lifestyle. We see that so much down here in Southwest Florida. Individuals wanting to travel more than once a year. Your hilarious story you always say about your parents going to Italy once and then being done, right?
Yeah, done.
I mean, people want to go to Italy every year. They want that big trip every year, not just once in retirement. How are we going to afford to pay for these things? And then you bring in the fact, you know, we've talked on the podcast a lot of times before about 401ks, how those are mismanaged. People don't really understand how those actually work for them.
Right.
Then you get into retirement. How do I go about pulling income out of this 401k? Do I roll it over to an IRA?
Right.
All the different aspects that are there with that too, which just opens up Pandora's box for the investment side too.
Yeah. So the funny thing is we did learn from our parents, but maybe we didn't learn a lot from our parents because quite frankly, I think there's a lot of people that say, well, our parents had it so easy because when you're handed Social Security and a pension, boy, that sure does look easy. And it looks like it's an unending amount of money that we can take from our parents, right? So we don't realize in today's world, we think our parents just have a lot of money because that's always been that way. But now all of a sudden that pensions are of a bygone era. Right. Now all of a sudden we have this 401k that we have to manage ourselves and now we have to take it over. It's different. Then you've got market volatility, inflation, healthcare costs soaring. It's a different world today. The new reality in retirement is way different. This is really where planning has to come in.
Absolutely. I mean, and we're big nerds when it comes to statistics. You know, we looked at some today. Right now, only 1 in 3 retirees say they're actually confident that are going to be able to retire, which shocks me because isn't it a scary thing to say, hey, I'm retired, I'm going to retire on this date. And then 65, 66% of those people are like, I'm actually not really confident that I can stay retired.
Yeah.
why are we doing it in the first place, right?
I don't know.
What?
I mean, let's face it. There are a lot of people that just say, oh, by the way, I want to retire. Yeah, I know you want to retire, but can you stay retired? I mean, that really is the biggest thing. I understand that you're burned out. You don't want to do this anymore, but you may need to find something else to do. That is the real reality in retirement, right? But this is what planning shows you. It's helping you understand where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years, and see if that's actually sustainable. So when we come up next, we're going to talk about the new reality in retirement and what you can actually do to improve your retirement. Stay tuned.
Do you have questions and concerns about your money, lifestyle, and retirement? Like so many, investors today worry about living expenses, healthcare costs, inflation, and stock market volatility. Instead of worrying, start planning. Eric Kearney and his team at Retirement Wealth Advisors want to sit down, get to know you, and start to build a plan that matches your vision and goals. Let's have a real conversation about what's important to you and how we get there. We'll help build you a plan based on your goals, lifestyle, and income needs, with financial clarity over complexity. Call us today for a farm fresh second opinion. Remember, you only retire once, so let's get it right the first time.
And we are talking now about the reality in retirement, what it is really like when you go to retired. And there are actually a lot of risks. One of them, Joseph, is always we talk about longevity risk. Now, my mom just turned 89 years old. I really don't see any reason why she can't make it to 100 at this point.
Right.
So, and the biggest thing is that she is always worried about her finances, even though crystal clear she is good. And she's one of the few that has a pension, but yet you still worry about retirement. You will have that pension forever.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that let's talk about longevity and what that looks like for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how long that time horizon is once they go into retirement, right? The average age for retirees has risen to 64, but now the actual life expectancy is pushing past 83, which again, you have family that's lived well past that. My great-grandparents lived to 99 and 97, right? Think about retiring at 65 and just going until 95. That's 30 years of life. That's 30 years of expenses with inflation, with taxes. All of that impacts how you should be invested. All of that impacts your financial plan. And so that longevity risk is something that's also only going to continue to get worse, I would say. Right. I mean, with the technology and the advancements there with healthcare, people are only going to continue to live longer. And something that we're hearing a lot more is that individuals, I mean, I don't know if it's new or not, but I mean, people want to retire younger. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, when would you like to retire? Yesterday, right? So people want to retire younger, but then you're facing this longevity risk with, okay, let's say you retire at 60. Right. If you go to 95, that's 35 years.
Yeah, that's
right?
a long time.
That's like another career when when you really think about it.
Right.
That you have no income coming in, just Social Security that your investments, have to make up for.
Yeah.
Huge risk. And then we talk about inflation. You mentioned that, we're talking about how that impacts that longevity risk too. 35-year period, think about how much your expenses are going to rise over that time period. And on a recent study that was done, 53% of retirees said their expenses were much higher than they expected when they were thinking about retiring. When they go into retirement, these are way more expensive than we realized. Our lifestyle is way more expensive.
I don't think people realize how expensive their lifestyle is anymore.
Absolutely not. I think when we're working, we have that money coming in. You have that disposable income. It's in the checking account. Yeah, we can afford it. We can pay for it.
Right.
A lot of people, if they're not planning or contributing to their accounts on a systematic basis, it's there. Let's spend it. And they just think, when I get into retirement, my expenses are magically going to go down.
Right.
And we always tell people,
no, they're not.
You're actually going to be retired. So both you and your spouse are going to have 40 hours of free time a week. And how are you going to fill that time?
Right.
Most people fill it with things that cost money.
I don't understand it. The crazy thing is everybody says, oh yeah, they're going to go down. They are not going to go down. They're going to shift, right? Healthcare is going to become more expensive. Like everything is going to change in retirement, but it's going to be different, right? And so the crazy thing is that when you see people living a more dynamic lifestyle, it costs money. So Joseph, you were born and raised here, right? So that's a rare gem, right? Yep. And I moved here about 16 years ago. When I moved here, I was blown away that a lot of people had $100,000 boats. $100,000 boats anymore? No. Now people are running with 3, 4, and 5 outboards on them. And I mean, the money that they're spending on boats is staggering. That's the difference that's happened. And it's not so much the cost of the boat, but to fuel it, store it, insure it, whatever else, right? All the maintenance that goes along with the boat. So people in Southwest Florida are living a much more expensive lifestyle. If we take on a client and they're living in Ohio, they definitely have different needs than someone that's living on the water in Southwest Florida.
Absolutely.
And as we get older, they change too. So another risk that we have is market volatility risk. So, people want to tame that. So as a money manager, what do you say about that?
I think that a thing that people run into, a mistake sometimes when we speak on longevity risk with volatility as well, people look that they're just going to go into retirement and they're like, I got to be super conservative now. I'm done. I'm in retirement. I don't have this time to lose. Well, when you're looking at a financial plan that's going from 65 to 95 in that 30-year period, sometimes people realize, I have a longer time horizon than I think. Because it's not that we're saying, hey, you have to be aggressive or have that volatility in the portfolio. But what we want to show you is look at the impact of taxes and inflation over a 30-year period.
Right.
And tell me you don't need a solid rate of return in order to combat it. That's what eats away at people's funds, right? Especially the cash investors, the individuals that have loved CDs over the last couple of years, right? Which now the only good thing with, one of the reasons interest rate or good things about interest rates coming down is maybe that will shake up some of these CD investors to realize I need a stronger rate of return over the long run in order to sustain my lifestyle, just to make sure that purchasing power is staying solid and I'm not losing to that inflation.
Absolutely. So coming up next, we're going to talk more about your rate of return and how it's going to provide you with an awful lot of luxuries. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You know who has one of the toughest retirements? Procrastinators. You keep telling yourself, I'm going to get to that. But after months turn into years, you realize that time is one investment you can't buy back. The earlier you start, the longer your money works for you. Stop letting someday steal your future. The best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is right now. Don't let procrastination be the reason you work longer and retire smaller. Call us today for a complimentary review of your finances. And remember, you only retire once. So let's get it right the first time.
And welcome back to Farm Truck Financial. We are having a great conversation about today's retirement and the reality of it. So, Joseph, we were just talking about rate of return, and we did another podcast with one of our clients, and she explained that we helped her understand the difference between being a saver and an investor. And with your money parked in the bank, inflation comes along, taxes come along, increased healthcare comes along. That's when she realized, I don't know if this is going to keep up with my lifestyle. And then we created a financial plan, an income plan, a tax plan, but also a portfolio that gave her a rate of return. That's when she said, now I understand how important it is to be an investor. And there has to be a point in your life where you have worked for your money, but then there's got to be that switch where you actually feel like now my money is actually working for me.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about rate of return and how important that is.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that say, well, how are we going to combat inflation in retirement, right? Rate of return.
Yeah.
You got to have a higher rate of return in there. Taxes. Of course, there's certain tax planning and tools and things that you can implement. But when you have qualified money, IRA accounts, and you're saying, any money I pull out of this account, I have to pay taxes on that as well. How am I going to help combat that? Rate of return, right?
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to say rate of return is the, beats everything and is the best strategy to have, but it sure does help. I mean, even when you are taking advantage of good years in the market and you're building up that height in the portfolio, what you're doing is essentially building up that cushion for the portfolio.
Right.
It allows you to take on a little bit more volatility possibly the next year too. Hey, look at all this growth that we have in the portfolio. We took advantage of this. Now we're starting to have compounding interest on this as well.
Yeah.
That can change the face of your retirement plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is no one's ever said, hey, Eric, I want to let you know I have way too much money. I'm retired. I got way too much money. No one's ever said that. It doesn't matter how much money they have. What we have to realize is that you have a pile of money, then you have a lifestyle. And what we're trying to do is extrapolate income from that pile of money, outpacing inflation, paying your taxes, and giving you a raise every single year. Like, think about our working years. When we work, we want a raise every once in a while. So we have to make sure that that pile of money is going to do all of that. Oh, and then also last you for the next 25 to 30 years. And if you actually want to pass money on to your children, how do we do that transfer of generational wealth? So there's a lot of things that are going on here. And this is where people will come in and say, Joseph, I don't know what's wrong, but there's something off with my current advisor. I'm looking for a second opinion. So again, if you're looking for that second opinion, give us a call today, 601-THE-FARM. That's 601-THE-FARM, and get your very own second opinion. Let's talk quickly about the emotions, because you can do the tax plan, the financial plan, the income plan, have portfolio money management, have concierge service. We're giving you everything, but then all of a sudden the news and the media comes on. And by the way, we are part of the media now, right? I mean, podcasts, TV shows, we're part of this. But we want to put a positive spin on that because we know what takes over, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, emotions, right? This is the driver in so many situations and so many factors. And honestly, I think a lot of investors are their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
They get in their own head, they start overthinking things. And then when somebody says, well, explain to me why somebody would choose a financial advisor, aside from all the other benefits of having the objective point of view and having a financial plan, a tax plan, all these different aspects that we're looking at your money and planning for it, it's really having somebody that is able to remove that emotion from the decision-making process and look strictly on the data and the facts, because those emotions a lot of times are our biggest roadblocks in either achieving that greater rate of return or making those silly mistakes, having that FOMO risk, or the fear of missing out. And then we jump in something that maybe we know is not the best investment for us, or something that didn't really fit the way that our portfolio should be set up. But, Randy down the street has it in his portfolio and he did 50% and I need that in my portfolio. That's an emotional decision-making process, right? As an advisor, we're trying to remove that from the portfolio decision-making process.
Yeah, I think FOMO has been so popular over the past 5 years, right? Fear of missing out. I have to have this in my portfolio. It's going to be earth-shattering what it does to my portfolio. And come to find out, it really isn't. So whether it's cannabis, we all thought everybody's going to be walking around the world all high, or charging stations or lithium batteries. There's going to be all these reopened factories that are going to... Nothing ever happened like that, right? And so all of a sudden everything went up and it went down. That's not reality, right? And so what we're really trying to do is build sustainability and longevity in that portfolio. So again, you guys, you have to realize that our emotions do take over. And this retirement that we are in, this is real. This is reality in retirement. So again, you really do need 5 things: a financial plan, an income plan, a tax plan, portfolio management, and also concierge service. These 1-800 numbers are not working anymore. They're failing people. People want more answers. So again, if you're out there, you're looking for a second opinion, give us a call today, 601-THE-FARM, or go to myincomeplan.com and download your very own retirement income guide. Thank you so much for watching Farm Truck Financial, and we will see you on the back roads of retirement.
Thanks for riding along with us today. We hope you got some good dirt. If you liked today's show, subscribe, like, and share with all your farm truck friends. We hope you'll join us for the next ride on Farm Truck Financial, where we're always planting seeds for a better future, 1 mile, $1 at a time.
Farm Truck Financial, we're riding with you down the back road steady.